Recollection Toys, also known as Ceramic Design on Etsy, is recreating vintage toys from the 80s as porcelain sculptures. He's done figures from Masters of the Universe, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and of course Star Wars, and even some larger toys and playsets. Obviously, in some sense, porcelain is one of the least appropriate materials for action figures, but I personally love the idea of enshrining these classic sculpts in a form that makes them into the works of art that they truly deserve to be. I've been following him for a while on Instagram, so of course I was very interested when he posted some initial shots of the Jabba playset a few months ago. He kindly allowed me to be the first to purchase one of his Jabba playsets in porcelain, and also took some of these behind-the-scenes videos so I could show you what the process was like. Basically, you have to take the part that you want to replicate, make a mold of it, and then pour some ceramic material into the molds, as you can see here. There's a lot of parts, as you might imagine, involved in making a replica of something like the Jabba playset. So this, in and of itself, is quite a bit of work. And then you have to demold the pieces, like you see here. And I don't have video of this part, but I assume that you apply a sort of glaze that will make it shiny and get that nice glossy surface texture that we're familiar with porcelain. And of course, all of the pieces have to be fired in a kiln. There's also a lot of sort of minor work involved in filling up little gaps and things and, trimming flash where the ceramic material has kind of seeped through parts of the mold. It's a lot of work, from what I understand. Most of his pieces are actually non-articulated, but he went the extra mile with Jabba here and came up with a way to have his arms actually be articulated in much the same way that the original figure was. There's a taut spring here that goes between the two arms, and it allows him to move his arms up and down, and also the tail as well. There's a kind of a screw here that the tail pivots off of. It's not that different from the actual vintage figure, and so he has tail articulation. The torso just kind of sits on top of the body, so he has torso articulation, as you can see here, and he also has arm articulation. So it's very impressive work. So let's go ahead and take a look at the actual thing that I have here in front of me. And here's the actual piece, the one that we saw being created in those behind-the-scenes videos. It's a little bit maybe hard to convey on camera what this actually looks like in person, but I mean, it's really quite a unique look. Porcelain has a unique look and feel to it, even a unique sound. So if I pick up Salacious Crumb here, you can hear that. Or if I pick up Jabba, clunk, you can really tell that it's got some weight and a different sort of, feel than anything I've ever seen an action figure made out of before. It's also quite heavy compared to the actual set, several times heavier than the actual set. Although it is about 15% smaller than the actual set. Apparently, porcelain contracts a bit while the firing process is going on, and so it results in a bit of shrinkage, even though these were taken directly from the actual toys themselves. I asked Recollection Toys about that a little bit. He said that was kind of an issue that he's having to deal with. I think he would prefer not to have the shrinkage happen. And, it is fairly noticeable, like with a larger thing, like he did a Castle Grayskull in porcelain. And you can see here, this is a fairly big difference in size between the actual set and the porcelain one. But, it's fine. Not a big deal. Just something to be aware of, I guess. In fact, I'll show you right here a quick comparison of the actual playset with the porcelain one, just so you can get an idea. I would like to look at the individual pieces here. So we've got Salacious Crumb in porcelain. I never thought I would say that. Pretty cool. Obviously, the original Salacious Crumb was not articulated or anything, so basically, it's the same as the original. We've got Jabba here. He's holding his hookah pipe. This is the part that on the actual playset is connected to a little piece of string that goes between it and here. I don't know. I'm kind of tempted to maybe get a piece of white string of some kind and maybe recreate that. But in any case, you can take it here out of his hand carefully. And so we got the actual pipe there. And then we've got his articulated arms that I mentioned before. They actually work pretty darn well. Probably, you know, about as well as you could imagine. The other option, I suppose, would be to use magnets. Yeah, he's used magnets with a couple of other things that he's made. And those, you know, of course, I've done too with my 3D printed stuff. Those do work pretty well too, although, honestly, I think this might even be preferable in this case, at least. Here we have the tail. It does go a little farther than the actual vintage toy's tail would move, so you can get a little bit of a gap if you move it all the way one way or the other, but it's not a big deal. And, you know, it's got a nice heft to it. Of course, he's also got the torso articulation just by moving it. The torso and the body are not really, you know, attached to each other. It's almost like it's a lid, right? He's got this lip here, and then this is the lid that you put on the body. It's kind of cool. If we turn the body upside down, you can see that screw that I was talking about, and also there's the signature of the creator there. Now if we put Jabba off to one side for a second, we can look at the throne in a little bit more detail. This was, I'm sure, a lot of work to do, and he's managed to recreate almost all of the important features of the throne, I think, with a couple exceptions, which we'll talk about right now. The actual vintage throne, of course, has a turnable gargoyle head on either side here that allows you to open up the trapdoor, and it also has this, you know, manacle kind of thing coming out of one of the mouths. He did not include that. In fact, the gargoyles are all one piece with the throne, but the actual trapdoor here does open up. I think the easiest way is just to take something like a paintbrush and kind of just get in there, and you can pick it up and put it down like that so that it's in the open position if you like. It doesn't have the kind of little knob hinge type thing that was on the original playset. Again, I think that would be too fragile, is my guess. But yeah, you can have it open like this, or you can just have it removed if you like. I'll put these off to the side for just a second. Although I should probably mention, you know, he has to go through, apparently, and cut through all of these individual openings in the gratings in order to get this effect like this. Used an X-Acto knife, so that's pretty impressive. And if we look here in the actual pit, you can see you've still got all the various grossness and nasties down there that we have in the vintage toy, plus one little addition. You may notice there is a Boba Fett helmet there. I asked him what the story was there. He said he just happened to have a Boba Fett helmet lying nearby and thought it would be interesting to put it there. Kind of a nice little Easter egg, I guess. So that's that. Feels very heavy and solid. On the bottom, not a whole lot to see, but you can see that, you know, it's a similar construction to the vintage throne. I am really impressed with the amount of detail that he's managed to capture with this, especially things like the eyes, which you can't really see all that well on the actual toy because they're partially transparent. You can really see them well if you look closely at his version. So very, very cool stuff. If you're interested in getting one of these for yourself, or maybe one of the other figures that he's made, you can check out his Etsy shop. I'll put the link in the video description. I will say these are not cheap, and I don't really think they should be, given the amount of work involved and the limited nature of their creation. I was really impressed with the packaging job that he did as well, by the way. It's all custom-cut foam and nesting boxes so that it would ensure that it would arrive without any breakage, and it did arrive just fine. This is something that I've wanted to have ever since I saw that he was doing this kind of work with porcelain action figures, so I'm really happy to finally add it to my collection, and I'm glad I was able to show it off to you today. Thanks for watching. This video was brought to you by my patrons on Patreon, including these Palace VIPs, Angelica Brady and Jesper Murtu. I really appreciate all of your support, and if you'd like to help support the channel as well, you can check out the link in the video description.